It is Tuesday, August 9th. We begin this hour with one word: unprecedented. The FBI executes a search warrant on the South Florida home of Donald Trump, connected to classified documents taken from the White House to Mar-a-Lago when Trump left office. It's unclear exactly what agents were looking for, but a source tells NBC News the FBI left the property with documents. Trump called the search a, quote, raid. But officials say no doors were knocked down and that the FBI notified the Secret Service before the breach. Trump slammed the search as prosecutorial misconduct, but many have pointed out search warrants are signed by judges after being presented with evidence of a potential crime. Mike Barnicle and John Heilemann are still with us, and joining the conversation we have Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor of the Washington Post, Eugene Robinson. Joe, a lot of questions this morning.
A ton of questions this morning, but John Heilemann, as you've said time and again throughout the Trump administration, we have something that is both shocking and yet not surprising. Talk about it.
Well, you know, Joe, we went through this in the last hour, and I think it doesn't bear. It's the kind of thing that bears repeating. You know, when you heard that this happened last night, it was surprising. No one. In a lot of cases, when you have raids, this is obviously not a raid, technically speaking, but something that comes as a surprise to the news media, at least. You often will have some indication that a thing like this is going to happen. And the press was not tipped on this at all. Although, as Mika just said, it's the case that the FBI had been in contact with the Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago, so Donald Trump was not surprised by it. It's also the case that there was something sort of stunning about the notion that the way that Trump tweeted it out, it notified people through whatever social channel he now has still available to him because it can't be on Twitter. He said they were currently at Mar-a-Lago, which is kind of a dramatic notion that he was basically live messaging about the FBI being there, and it wasn't in fact true. They had already left by the time he started notifying everybody in the public. So I guess people were sort of stunned by the notion this thing was happening. And then once you started to think about it, given the number of venues and areas, legal venues in which Donald Trump is in legal trouble, cases in which he has potential criminal liability, the notion that at some point it would come to this isn't at all really surprising. It's sort of shocking when it's in front of you, but not surprising in the long run. And I think, you know, in some ways, maybe the most surprising thing is that of all the areas where Trump is being investigated, where he has legal liability, where he might face criminal charges, that this is the one on the question of documents and whether he's violated rules about record keeping, partly because, you know, we saw that there was, you know, over the course of the time the story's been covered, we saw that there was some kind of a negotiated settlement. Some of those records did come from Mar-a-Lago. It sort of seemed like this was in the rearview mirror to a lot of people, that Trump had done something wrong, but somehow a deal had been struck and the records had eventually gotten where they were supposed to go, to the January 6th committee. The notion that they was still holding on to these records, and not only that a federal judge had signed off on a warrant saying that there was probable cause of a crime had been committed, but basically indicating that there was no way to solve this without a warrant. That kind of the implication of this is that the time for talking was over, that there had been discussions back and forth between the DOJ, between the government and the Trump and Donald Trump and his people, and that they had reached the point where a warrant was necessary, not just because it was likely indicated a probable cause that a crime had committed, but that there was no other way to obtain those documents, and the implicit suggestion that Trump might have still been in a position to destroy them. I think all of that is genuinely surprising. And the last thing I'll say is I just think it just tells you, given all the other trouble he's in, this will not be the last time we see news like this. And I would not be surprised if we see it again in the coming weeks at other properties of Donald Trump's in New York or New Jersey or elsewhere, maybe back at Mar-a-Lago again on other legal fronts. I think that's the future we're looking at right now, because Merrick Garland's clearly ready to play.
Yeah, you know what's so fascinating is, again, you have in Georgia Donald Trump on tape talking to the Secretary of State, trying to steal enough votes to rig that election and win the state of Georgia. You have testimony from Donald Trump's own people with the January 6th committee, and so much evidence that Donald Trump was at the center of leading a fascist coup against the United States of America. And so I do find it fascinating that this search for classified documents is actually the first thing that brings FBI agents knocking on Donald Trump's door, because it seems to be the least significant of all the crimes that he seemingly has committed. Of course, in America, because we here on this show believe, unlike, well, other people on other shows, we believe that no man is above the law. We believe in the rule of law. We believe that all are innocent until proven guilty. We don't know for sure whether Donald Trump is guilty or not. But, Mika, this does seem to be the least serious charge facing Donald Trump right now. But it was the first charge that got the FBI knocking on his door. I'm sure prosecutors will have their opinions on exactly what that means for Donald Trump's future legal jeopardy.